All right, so this is book club without a club. Oh, I guess. So this is Ryan,
And this is Joy.
and you're currently listening to the smooth sounds of the book club without a club. Just kidding. I'm gonna cut that out.
No, you can't!
And we are in a different room. This is actually the room that started it all, just down there.
A different end.
Yeah. So this way people can't stare at us, but I just realized the door's open. Oh well.
Just a crack. I think it's fine.
Oh, before we dive into today's book, I saw that Michael Mann is coming out with a sort of quote unquote sequel to Heat, but it's going to be a book. So there's going to be a novel, Heat 2.
Michael Mann.
He directed Heat from the movie and the Miss High Sandwich.
Oh! Oh my goodness!
So there's going to be a sort of sequel, but it's going to be a novel instead of a movie.
Really?
He's writing it with someone. I can't remember who, but I thought that was interesting.
Yes, that is very interesting.
If you ever catch the movie, we'll have to add that one to the list. But today we're talking about CQ by Kristen Radtke.
I've heard it pronounced Radtke.
Radtke?
Yes.
That sounds good. I like that. Kristen Radtke. And it's going to be, on my part, a sort of experiment since I finished it so long ago. I want to start with basically just what I remember the most about it.
Okay.
And I mean, I have some notes that I haven't looked at, but things that stuck out the most to me were her use of colors throughout, how each section had a very prominent color palette, but it was usually one, like a blue or a purple or an orange, was the most used within that certain chapter. Mm-hmm. And the Harry Harlow monkey stuff, like that. Maybe it's because I was familiar a little bit with Harry Harlow before, and maybe if I couldn't remember his name, I knew the monkey experiments with the cloth mother and the cage mother.
Yes.
But those two things stuck out the most. So
It is so interesting that you mentioned color because I did not focus on the colors at all.
Oh, really? Well, I guess we should say it's presented as a graphic novel.
Yes, it is a graphic novel.
It is sort of an essay.
I didn't see it that way. My views are completely different.
And what you got?
So the title CQ is derived from the from ham radio argo of the letters C and Q. And she describes a CQ call as a reaching outward and attempt to make a connection across a wavelength with someone you've never met. And I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
But, well, did you enjoy it? How would you rate it?
I said there's been some time in between reading it and this discussion. I'd probably give it a 4 out of 5.
Oh, really?
Because at the time it was very fascinating, and I liked the style, and it wasn't just information, and it wasn't just her thoughts. It was a blending of the two. But like I said, other than the colors, it didn't, I guess.
Which I didn't notice.
It didn't. I guess it didn't stick with me as much as I thought it would, because it's been a minute since I last read it. So, but I did enjoy it. I don't want to say that. I don't want it to seem like I didn't enjoy it. I just don't know if I'd go be like, everyone needs to read this book. Mm-hmm. And I remember some chapters being more interesting than others, or more informative. I don't remember what set it apart in my mind, but I'd say 4.
Oh, wow, okay. I am, I did enjoy the book, but my rating isn't as high. Mine is more between 3 and 4 stars.
Okay, I figured you'd be higher than that.
Um,
It just seems so dark and contemplative that.
I did enjoy it, but there are reasons why I am choosing 3 and 4 stars. Well, first of all, I really liked some of the things that she brought up and discussed in the book, but I almost feel like I would have preferred it in just a regular book form, just because she meandered too quickly and often between subjects that she could have delved more deeply into if it was in book form.
So you mean more words, or just in a different, take the same exact words in a different format, or?
I think more words, because she jumped around a lot, and it just seems like she didn't really have a chance to explore the very interesting topics, because it's a graphic novel. And well, maybe this is an unfair comparison, but I was thinking of The Lonely City
Not sure. What's?
by Olivia Liang, I think.
Not
Liang?
familiar with it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Because I thought that we talked about that in the past, but I just didn't really think that it really works in graphic novel form.
Oh, see, I thought it was an interesting way to, especially since she used like actual like newspaper. She redrew like newspapers and the reports from the Harlow reports.
Mm-hmm.
She used she recreated actual objects. So I don't know.
I mean, I enjoyed the drawings, but I just thought that she skimmed over just
A lot.
too much
Right. Well,
for my taste.
I was gonna say, if you like just the words, I was surprised that it's an audiobook, and it just seemed weird to me when I saw
Yes.
that it existed in audiobook form, in the sense that I feel like the pictures were very important to how she presented the thoughts, information. I don't know how I would. What's the word I'm looking for? How she presented how she made the book.
You think the illustrations added to the book?
Right. Yeah. And plus, if you set out to make a graphic novel, it just seems weird to have an audio book version of. I mean, you can't just read it as a book without the illustrations,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why it exists. And not everyone can read it in the way it's presented, but it just struck me as interesting that I don't know of any other graphic novel that has an audio book. I've never seen it before, so maybe that's why it struck me so as unique.
Did you get to listen to it?
I did not. I don't know. I don't remember where I saw it. I was looking up something and I saw there was an audiobook version. But it might be an interesting thing to go back and just listen to it without the images and see if her arguments hold up.
Mm-hmm.
So
you didn't think that the graphic novel was too meandering?
maybe, like I said, it's been a minute since I've read it, but maybe that's what maybe we are saying the same thing in different ways. So you said it was meandering, and I said that certain chapters didn't stand out as much. So maybe
Okay.
those chapters, those pieces, like when she started, I remember her talking about her family history a little bit. I know there was a dad in a garage, maybe, but maybe it just didn't keep diving in, like you're saying. Maybe it meandered quickly off of that, and that's why it's not sticking in my mind as clearly as the monkey stuff, essentially.
So I guess, would you agree that this book is a study of our need for connection and touch, and perhaps vulnerability stemming from that, I guess.
Well, when you mean touch, it's more of like a figurative, because I ain't going around just like poking people. I don't want people poking me. It's like random hugs in the street. I don't need that.
Well, I also wanted to mention that it's interesting that we are discussing a book about loneliness, but then again, it's so complex because it, like everything else, it's not as simple as it sounds.
Right. It's not. It's not
but-
black and white. It's also greenish gray, orange, purple, blue, and tan. Those are the colors I wrote down.
Yes. Well, and I was going to actually ask, is loneliness more about proximity, like the presence or nearness of others, or the ability or inability to connect? I feel, for me, it's more about being able to connect with other people.
I'd say that too. Because, I mean, you can still... I'm sure I'm not the only one that's felt this way. I'm sure it's more common. But you can go to, let's for example, you go to a party or a gathering, and you can still feel lonely surrounded by large groups of people.
That's exactly what I was thinking about.
So yeah, I would agree that it's less just being around, or you can be around somebody that you don't like, and maybe that could still lead to a certain feeling of loneliness. Just because you're with someone doesn't mean that you're not lonely. And even you can be around people you love and still at times just feel that way, and it's normal. It's not. I don't think it's a negative thing unless it's pushed to excess, like the monkeys, or when she talks about how loneliness can potentially lead to aggression. Because there was a section about the shooters. I remember the newspapers. I don't remember all her points, but it was something like how loneliness somehow could lead to aggression. I remember that. I remember that being one of her theses, statements, thing. I don't.
It seems to me, though, that she didn't explore the feeling connected and being understood
In the aggression section or overall?
aspect. I mean, just in general.
General.
And just more on proximity or the closeness of others in general.
So you're saying this book left you lonely because you didn't connect with it. Boom.
Maybe. Okay. And we cannot let this discussion end without talking about professional cuddlers.
Oh yeah. I wanted to look that up. Like I wanted to see. Oh, now I got to do it. No, I've totally forgot.
I actually did, and I thought, is there really such a thing? Because it almost seems like it's a tame word for...
Right.
But from what I read about it, it is, it doesn't have a sexual component to it.
Right.
But can you imagine that as your profession? I'm a professional cuddler.
I mean, me personally? No.
I just got so caught up on this point. I just couldn't believe it.
But I get why it exists. I mean, that's why other services that involve more than cuddling exist. I mean, it's not supposed to, but let's get real. It does. Mm-hmm. And then that's why there's also, like, let's even say something like all the dating apps, like it makes sense why sometimes you just want to cuddle. I don't maybe not me, but so
Yeah.
all kinds of people. So
I guess that's what I was referring to when I mentioned touch earlier.
Okay.
Just how people feel the need for that other person's
right.
physical touch.
Well, sometimes you do. I mean, sometimes when you're experiencing certain emotions, like simple gesture from a loved one, even if it's just like a simple pat or a full blown hug, can really change how that emotion is affecting you. It can teeter it one way or the other, like the baby monkeys. They just wanted to hang on to something warm, even though it had no other benefit. So I don't know. Maybe also the Harlow stuff stuck out because I found that probably the most fascinating section of the entire book.
I definitely agree with you.
But I felt so bad, and then the way she drew like the little baby monkey in the bottom of that hole, like I felt so bad for that little. I mean, granted, it led to some important discoveries in psychology, but at the same time, just the poor little baby monkey. I feel so bad for it.
Right. I mean, I guess so. We can just talk now about Harry Harlow. So he was a psychologist who basically performed cruel experiments on monkeys in the 1950s to debunk the prevailing belief that children shouldn't be physically coddled.
Right.
And
What an interesting thought. Even before that, that's up there with
yeah.
like bloodletting. Like, let me get rid of this headache. Slash. Like,
Well, I mean, so after reading about him, and he was quite troubled and depressed, right?
yeah, that was interesting too. That he was in his own way very lonely, but maybe he felt it so strongly that's why he had to learn about it. Maybe it was.
That's what I was thinking too. So I couldn't help but wonder if he was projecting his anxiety and fear on the monkeys.
Yeah, that's what I was leaning towards saying, but I didn't want to quite word it that way because it just seems so like not evil, but just so.
But don't you think his experiments were quite cruel? I thought they were.
They were, and they got it. But as his life got spun worse and worse for himself personally, I guess he needed to know why he was feeling this way. So as life became more cruel to him, in his opinion, he became more cruel to the monkeys in order to learn why he was feeling. So it's a cycle that, and like I said, even though these experiments couldn't be done again today, we still have that information, and we learned a lot from it. And for better or worse, I'm not saying I want to condone it, but
Yeah. Do you remember that he called one of his vertical chambers in an experiment the pit of despair?
yeah, wasn't that the picture with the monkey in the bottom?
Yes.
No, the poor little monkey. Just the way she drew it, I still see it. I still see that little poor little. Poor
Didn't
little
you
monkey.
didn't you feel it as well though?
Yeah.
I did.
Totally felt that.
And were you moved at all during the section where, when she told her friends that she was writing a book about loneliness, they listed the times and instances
Yeah. But I mean,
when they felt most lonely?
we could probably bring people just in here and be like, say a time you felt lonely, and something will. It's like just like saying, tell me a time that you laughed so hard you cried. Like, I'm sure most people have had that experience. Or tell me a time that you were hungry. It's a normal human. So it's like sadness. Like sometimes if we didn't have it, we wouldn't be human, I guess. We wouldn't.
Oh no, I agree.
We wouldn't know the opposites of things. So by knowing loneliness, we can also know companionship, I guess. I don't know. But that sounded good. It sounded like it might mean something.
Did any of the ones that you read stand out at all?
I don't remember 'em. I remember how she did it. I remember the style, the visual style, with the faces and the words.
Yes.
But I don't remember. As soon as you mention one, it'll come back. But
I don't know why this one stands out. I mean, it's not, but there's just something so heartbreaking about it to me. one person who said that when he was in seventh grade, he planned a birthday party,
Oh,
and
yeah.
only one person came. There's just something so heartbreaking about a child expecting. Oh.
No, you're totally right, though. I mean,
I I don't know why that makes me so sad.
because it is sad. It's very sad. I mean, but I mean, so that happened when he was younger, but obviously he has at least one friend, and Kristen. But yeah, no, that felt sad because it is very sad.
Yes.
Oh yeah, the sections she did: the science of loneliness, the psychology of loneliness, and that tied in with the gun violence and the aggression,
Mm-hmm.
and then the loneliness of social media, and then the loneliness of companionship. And I don't remember what that last one actually was.
The loneliness of companionship.
That's how I wrote it. I don't remember.
Um.
What was the last section?
Well, I.
It was touch. The cuddlers. Touch, and it was tan, and it talked about, that's when the cuddlers came up, I think. So maybe that's why I wrote it that way. So it wasn't just, she was just like, just broad strokes of loneliness. She tried to tie it into something that was current, I guess, especially with everyone being the lockdown and the social media and the increase of violent acts going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you could tie every single violent act to loneliness, but she did make some interesting points about it that aren't coming to me, but I remember at the time being like, okay, I see what you're trying to say,
Mm-hmm.
or I see what you are saying. But I said, I guess overall, a lot of it just didn't stick as hard in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But wouldn't say that's not a reason to read it. I think it was well done, and I did enjoy it
Mm-hmm.
for what it was.
Mm-hmm. What did you think of Vivek Murthy's statement that the most prevalent health issue in America is isolation? And he was a former Surgeon General, by the way.
Right.
I just don't know if I agree with that.
Well, in a way, like, so I don't remember where that was worded in it, but I did jot down how she would show certain things, and one of the images that kind of stuck out was there's the apartment building on the outside, and you're looking through the windows, and everyone's by themselves watching TV, so they're all doing the same thing. But maybe that's one of the things that the Surgeon General was implying, that so we can all come to work and talk about whatever we all collectively viewed, but we still potentially watched it by ourselves, so that connection at the time isn't happening or something. I don't know. I'm not this profound.
I just think it's not so much. Well, it was more physical isolation during 2020.
Right.
But just in general, I just almost feel like it's more mental in general, just because people they're so focused on their apps and phones.
Right.
So you have the connection, maybe digitally,
But
but
it's
just emotionally, it feels empty.
right. Well, I mean, plus a lot of social media, in my opinion, it's an act. It's a performance. You're putting it out there like an actor on a stage. So even if it's true, like, look at my brand new car picture on something, but it's still like you're still projecting this seeking attention in a way, like an actor on a stage, I'd say, because the actor wants you to focus on them as they deliver their lines. So you post your picture of a car, so you're wanting everyone to focus as you deliver this performative piece of your life that you're, I don't know. I don't do a lot of the social medias, so.
I don't either, but do you think it's more for validation to put out a persona of yourself that you want others to see?
Yeah. Like, we're slowly all becoming ads, basically. I mean, even this is basically an ad for this book. I mean, we're telling people whether to read it or not, and that's what an advertisement does.
I just personally think, so while I was reading it, I was trying to think of the difference between solitude and loneliness. And of course, for me, solitude has a more positive connotation to it.
I'm the same way. I like being alone, but there is a point that it becomes like too much.
Really?
Well, yeah.
No.
So like, let's say like, let's say Colby goes out of town for a week with the baby. It's Daddy's week at home. And I'm going to eat junk food. I'm going to watch bad movies. I'm going to read I'm not going to. But this is Monday. Kind of ride this wave to Wednesday. But come Thursday, I'm like, well, maybe she should come home. I miss her. That kind of, like, so there. But I do enjoy solitude. I just think that at a certain point, maybe it just becomes too much. I mean, we're social creatures. I think we forget that in a sort of way. I mean, we started out with packs and herds, groups, tribes, other words for the same thing. So.
Well, I also think that if you had that companionship and then you don't have it for a while, of course you'll be missed after a certain time.
Yeah.
But
it must be even harder when, let's say, if there's like the loved one dies, and now you're like that's it's all varying degrees of loneliness and how to deal with it and how to connect. Maybe just one of those. Maybe it all leads to one of those. You don't know what the other person's dealing with, so just be nice, because maybe you're the only interaction that person gets all day or all week.
True. Yeah.
So
I guess just to sum it all up, it's we basically need each other in the end. I mean, just in general.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we all do. I don't know why I wrote this down, but right here I have Kusama, parentheses, did Joy know? Question mark. I remember it mentioned. I don't remember why I wrote it down like that, but
loneliness is an important aspect. Gosh, it seems like I've said that word several times in this.
That's all right. I keep saying how interesting things are.
But yes, she's one of my favorite artists. I don't know why I feel such a connection to her. I don't know.
But it's interesting that she mentions her in the book about the loneliness and how she still lives in a psychiatric ward.
Yes.
But when you refer
she chooses to.
Right. And when you refer to her, you say you have a connection to her. So maybe that's why she makes these artworks that are not just on a tiny canvas. They'll fill up a whole room. She over the top. I that's why I like her. She just goes big with things, and and everything just repeats so much that I find her fascinating as well. Do you remember something called the coconut effect?
I don't remember that.
Wrote it down, and now I don't know what it is.
I don't remember that.
I don't either. But at the time, it struck me as interesting.
Coconut effect.
Because I wrote it down there.
We'll have to look that up.
Let's give it a Google. Coconut effect. It's the part on the show where it's something that wouldn't normally have sound, but they add the sound effect. So it's like when the coconut falls on a head, it doesn't make a sound, but they add that. Oh yeah, I thought the TV stuff in the laugh track was interesting. But it's.
Oh.
I like how she used TV because it's TV and social media are so prevalent these days. Like you can't go anywhere without a show or like you said, an app of something. I mean, I'm just because I don't do a lot of social media, I still have them. Like I don't get on them often, but they're there. And then, so it's just the fact that she incorporated so much of this stuff that maybe it's. I mean, she kind of implied that it's leading to a lot of the loneliness people might be feeling. So.
I really enjoyed the part about when she discussed how she used to sit in her room and listen to Casey Kasem.
Yeah, I used to do that.
I am so glad because I thought, oh my gosh, that brings back a lot of memories, and I just loved it too.
Oh yeah.
You probably don't remember Rebecca Stevens. She was on B98.5. And Ryan.
I don't think I lived here then.
Okay. She had the most soothing voice, and she played these romantic songs. You might find it out that I like something like that, but I guess
So
it's...
I guess B98.5 was like R&B station? Or
No,
like,
it's based out of Atlanta, I think, and just pop music.
Okay.
But Rebecca Stevens had this segment at night, of course, where she just played like just songs. I mean, it was very similar to Casey Kasem, but in a different way.
So she talked more like this.
It wasn't sultry. It wasn't sultry. It was just more just very soothing, and they just picked the most perfect person to wind down the day with.
So it's just one of those people with just the perfect voice kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but I am so glad that she discussed and included Casey Kasem, because I really enjoyed that time too.
Yeah.
Did you take your own radio into your room and then just listen to the long distance dedications?
I don't remember the long distance dedication. I remember Casey Kasem.
None of them?
Mm-mm. And I had this little. I mean, it's the same clock radio that like everyone has, that little brown one with the red lights. Like if you Google old clock radio, it almost looked like fake wood kind of.
You sound ancient.
It's that's what I had. So I just have that on, and then just that's the station I got. So I kind of got used to Casey Kasem.
It's so funny because I did exactly what she did. I would take it to my room in my own little space, and just listen to the songs, and just wait for him to read out the long distance dedications, which were quite touching at times.
Oh, see, those didn't stick with me. But also, wasn't Casey Kasem Shaggy? So maybe that's why. Wasn't he in Scooby-Doo?
I don't know.
Speaking of loneliness. So this is going to be we're going to take a brief hiatus for a month or so, about 2 months.
Okay.
So we should be back around March 22nd and be done with the water margin and have that ready. So I hope people don't get lonely without our soothing voice.
Soothing or sultry?
I don't know what I sound.
I just almost wish that voice that you depicted earlier was quite sultry. Oh.
But yeah, so it's not a just a little break. Just taking a little break. Maybe we'll have some surprises along the way. Maybe not. Maybe try to dig into this water margin. It's not bad so far. It's so long, though. It's so long. But
Oh, I mean, I want to ask, but I know you're not going to answer.
worst thing I do is not answer.
Do you like it as much, not as much, or more than Romance of the Three Kingdoms?
You'll have to find out March 22nd. Yeah, Casey Kasem played Shaggy.
Really?
Scooby-Doo.